Hey, this is Mr. Ng going over the Math 5 factoring test, August 23rd, 2019. This is version B. Multiple choice, carefully circle the correct answer. For version B, it says true or false. Question number 7 below has a greatest common factor. If you turn to the bottom of your page, it's only page 6. You have to go to the back side. And then you have to look at this problem. 2x squared minus 10x equals 8x. 2k squared minus 10 equals 8k. So if you move everything to one side, this kind of goes right in there. You're left with 2k squared minus 8k minus 10 equals 0. And then you should recognize that all these numbers have their evens. So that would give us 2 times k squared minus 4k minus 5. So the answer is true. Remember, here you could have done something like 2 times k minus 4 times 2 times k, and then minus 5 times 2, and then recognize that they all have a 2 in common, and that is your GCF. Question number 2. Factor completely. So in this problem I have a binomial, 1, 2, there's 2 terms, that means bi. So 7x times x plus 4 times 5x's. So I just have to figure out what they have in common. They have 3 x's. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So those 3 x's, which becomes x third, is my greatest common factor. And then whatever's left on the inside here that I did not underline, I'll circle those. So that would be a 7 plus 4. And then I have these 2 x's, so that would be x squared. And 7 plus 4x squared would be this choice, C. Remember, you can always distribute to check your answer. X cubed times 7, 7x cubed, and x cubed times 4x squared gives you 4x to the 5th. Okay, question number 3. Factor the trinomial completely. If the polynomial cannot be factored, write the word prime. So remember, here I have a trinomial, and then if you can write ax squared plus bx plus c. Remember, there's a 1 right here, so that tells you your a value is 1, b value is 7, and your c value is negative 18. And if you do your x in your box, just make sure you know the secret. When your a value is equal to 1, like in this problem, all you have to do is just the x. That's the trick, or the secret. This box then, whoa, with that earthquake right there. We're okay. No, I just knocked over the stand. There's the trick. If your a value is greater than 1, like 2, 3, or 4, you use x in the box. That's the trick. That's the secret, guys. Now, why did I not teach you this trick? Because it's just easier if you just keep using the x in the box. Let me show you how the a value is 1 and how it works. A times c, negative 18. My b value there is 7. 2 numbers that multiply to be 18 are 18 times 1, 9 times 2, and 6 times 3. Then I'm looking for ones that match. That'll be 9 and 2. They have to multiply to be negative 18, so this would be negative 2. 9 times negative 2 is negative 18. 9 minus 2 gives you 7. So your answer is x plus 9, x minus 2, which would be choice B. Double check my answer there. Now, let's show you why the box still works, okay? You always put your first term first, right? Always right there. Last term always right there. And then the 2 terms that you just found go right here. So that'll be 9x and negative 2x. And then you're just going to take out your greatest common factor. Greatest common factor is x. Here it is x. Go in this direction is a positive 9. In this direction it's a negative 2. So my answer is x plus 9, x minus 2, which I already got from just using those two. So again, the reason why I did not teach you this trick, because it's just easiest to teach you to keep using the x in the box. But in this problem, if you know that a is equal to 1, all you have to do is just the x. The reason why is I don't want you to, if you're like indecisive, like I'm not sure when to use the x in the box or both, I would just say use both. Question number 4. Multiple choice, factor completely. So I have a 10, 35, and 20, and recognize that those are all multiples of 5. So what I'm going to do is that I'm guessing that that is my greatest common factor. Okay. So 5 times 2 times x minus 7 times 5 times x, and then negative 20 would be 5 times 4. Let's just go ahead and circle the GCF there. So 5 is my greatest common factor. Then I'm left with 2x squared minus 7x minus 4. And we talked about how using in the inside of your parentheses there, that's what is going to be used for your x in your box. So let's go ahead and do that. Remember, you can always use standard form to identify your a, b's, and c's. A is 2, b is negative 7, c is negative 4. So a times c is negative 8. My b value is negative 7. Two numbers that multiply to be 8, but also add to be 7. That is 8 and 1. One of these has to be negative. That'll be a negative 8, because negative 8 times 1 equals negative 8. Negative 8 plus 1 gives you negative 7. And again, these two right there are going to always go in that direction, always, and you add an x. And the reason why is that these two terms are splitting the middle term. So then now in the top left box, you will write 2x squared, which is your first term, and then negative 4 here. And then we're just going to take out your greatest common factor. Notice they do not both have a 2 here, so I'm not going to write a 2 here. You can write it up here. So that'll be a 2x. This one will be an x, this direction. This will be a positive 1, because I see that 1 right there. It's a good hint. I see negative 4s. So then my answer is going to be 5. So this one comes down. This order doesn't matter. 2x plus 1, x minus 4. And that'll be choice C. Remember, you can always double check in the box here just to multiply by checking 2x times x, 2x squared, x times 1, 1x, 2x times negative 4, negative 8x, and 1 times negative 4 is negative 4. Question number 5, factor completely, x squared minus 4x plus 4 if possible. Let's write that out again. So my a value there is 1, b value is negative 4. Notice how these are just numbers, there's no x's in there. Just a problem like in the back. So now I can just use my x. And essentially this is the not trick, but just faster, right? Because my a value is 1, all I have to use is just the x. A times c is 4. My b value is negative 4. My two numbers that multiply to be 4 are 2 and 2, but I have to add them to be negative, which means they're both negative. So my answer is x minus 2, x minus 2. We have two choices here, E and A. In the previous videos, I had told you that the best answer is A. And here's my analogy. It's kind of like going up to In-N-Out and say, I want a cheeseburger and I want another cheeseburger. That's not wrong if you say you have essentially 2 1 cheeseburgers, but wouldn't it be just easiest if you just say, I have 2 cheeseburgers? Question number 6. Multiple choice factor. This one says z squared minus 16. Let's say you don't like the variable z, you can just change it to x. And we have that big gap there because you need to add a 0x. How do you know when to add a 0x? Well, if you just put standard form right below it, or above it, you'll recognize that you're missing something that has to have an x there. Okay? So a value is 1, b value is 0, and my c value is negative 16. And then I'm just going to go here and do my x. A times c, that'll be negative 16. My b value is 0. Remember to recognize that anytime that you have to add two numbers to be 0, they have to be basically the same number but opposites. One has to be positive, one has to be negative. So this will be a 4 and negative 4. Remember, use your calculator. 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. 4 plus a negative 4 gives you 0. So here, my answer is x plus 4, x minus 4. And again, if you did the box, it would be essentially the same thing, right? So this, remember now, you don't have any x's here. Let's see. We do, kind of confusing. There's some z's and there's some x's here. So whatever has the correct answer, you can always put z's back in, like I did there, and that would be choice A. So there were 16 multiple choice questions, six multiple choice questions, 2 points each, that's 12, and then 2 points for your period and name, that gives you 14 points for the front side, and there's your score at the bottom. That adds up. Double check yours, and then remember, you're always never writing in these blanks here until you do the quiz correction videos. Now if you turn to the back side, I'm going to go over the back there. Number 7, factor completely, and then 1 point for solving extra credit. So here, to factor, I have to set all this to one side of the equation. So you can put a line down the middle, and if I subtract, you're using your inverses or opposites, you'll get 2k squared minus 8k minus 10 equals 0. Okay, of course, we just proved to you in the previous that there is a greatest common factor. And then essentially the easiest way to do the problem is, let me do it here on the front, is that here, this would represent your x, and you only need your x because it's a is equal to 1, right? So let's just do the problem. Let's just factor what's in the inside there, and don't forget that 2 there. So a times c is negative 5, and your b value is negative 4. Two numbers that multiply to be 5, well, it has to be 5 and 1, and then two numbers added together equal negative 4, so it'll be negative 5. So your answer would be 2 times k minus 5, k plus 1. Okay, this is the answer from here, right? Negative 5, positive 1. But let me show you what would happen if you don't get the greatest common factor in this problem. Math is awesome because it's forgiving. Well, if you put standard form here, it's okay if you have x's or k's. You get an a value of 2, b value that is negative 8, and a c value is 10. Now my a value is greater than 1, so I'm going to have to do both the x and the box. Does that make sense? So a times c is 20, and my b value is negative 8. Two numbers that multiply to be 20. Let's say they're getting too big in your head. You can just write down the numbers: 20 and 1, 10 and 2, 5 and 4. And the reason why I do that is so then you can kind of see, well, what would happen if I subtract going across? And I have these two values, 10 and 2. Well, how do I get a negative 8? We messed up here. Let's double check. My c value is negative 10. So this should be negative 20. 2 times negative 10 is negative 20. Well, these two numbers multiply negative 20, that would be a negative 2, and these two numbers add to be a negative 8. So then remember, whatever you have here, you put in there. Let's go ahead and do that. So I have my first term, which is 2k squared, or 2x squared. And I have a negative 10. Remember, add your variable back, so negative 10k and 2k. The reason why is that these two are splitting the middle term. And then you just go back and factor. This will be a 2k. This side could also be a 2k, so you can kind of choose there. I'm just going to do k here on this side, because those multiply, right? So this, I would have to do a plus 2. Let's see if this works. And then over here I have to do a minus 5. Let's check. 2k times k is 2k squared. 2 times k is 2k, 2k times negative 5 is negative 10k, and negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. So it did work. So remember, you multiply, check your answer. And so I would get this as my answer. 2k plus 2 and k minus 5. Or some of you may have gotten k plus 1 and then 2k minus 10. But the big idea here is that to show you that you would factor a greatest common factor out of there. That would be a 2. And so this would be your answer in factoring. K plus 1, k minus 5. This is your answer if you're factoring. Okay, how do you get the extra credit? Well, to solve, you set each of these equal to 0. And you just solve for k. Well, 2 is never equal to 0, so right here, they call that no solution, so you don't need to know that. Subtract 1 from both sides, you get k equals negative 1. There's one solution. And then add 5 to both sides, you get k equals 5. That's the other solution. Down here, I'll just explain it once. They're pretty much the same all the way across. So if you get 4 points, that means you've done the problem correctly, all entirely, shown your work. That's without the extra credit. I'll put a plus 1 there. 3.75 you will get if you get the box inside correct. So everything in there, if I see that it's correct, and let's just say your final answer is wrong up there somehow, then I'll take off 0.25. Super generous. This is a new grading scale for the year. Okay, 3.5. How do you get a 3.5? Your X is correct. X puzzle correct over here. And your box is close. Box is close to being correct. You're going to get 2 points if you're just able to identify the A, B, and C correctly. I'm not really concerned about the GCF because it kind of works itself out. If you had left it in there, like say 2k plus 2, then I might give you like a 3.75. Let's go to the next problem. Let's identify my A, B, and C. We're just going to subtract 81 from both sides. I'm going to get k squared minus 81 equals 0. And don't forget to put the 0 in there. Super important. And then you identify your A, B, and C's. So your A value is 1, your B value is 0, and your C value is negative 81. Remember, there are no letters in there, so that was out of 3 points. Question 8b, factor completely the polynomial in question 8a. So we just need to factor this, and we already have some work there. A times C is negative 81, and my B value is 0. Well, what are my two numbers? Well, notice that it is 0, so that means these have to be opposites. You can write them out if you need to. 81 and 1. You use your calculator. 81 divided by 2 doesn't work. How about 27 and 3? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So I'm going to pick 9 and 9. 1 positive, 1 negative, and those are our answers. X plus 9, X minus 9. Now, again, you can also put this into your box and get the same answer. Not necessary, but I'll show you really quickly. So again, you always put in your first term right here. So that'll be kx squared. Your last term, negative 81. And then you have 9x, negative 9x. So then I have x, and then positive 9. This will be a negative 9. There's the hint right there. And these multiply by negative 81. So that question will be out of 4, and I'll just circle your answer. Same scoring rubric as above. Question number 9. Factor completely. Remember, if you don't like the r's, you can turn them into x's. A is 1, B is 2, C is negative 8. A times C is negative 8, B value is 2. Two numbers that multiply, those two numbers are 4 and 2. This has to be a positive when you add them, so that means a positive has to be bigger. This means this one's a negative. And there's your answer. You can have x plus 4 and x minus 2, or you can do your r values as r plus 4 and r minus 2. Remember, if you have those switched, when I say switched, that would basically mean something like this, r minus 2, r plus 4. Now, if you switch up the positive negatives, then that would be wrong. So anything like in there would be correct. Okay. And then the last question, factor completely here. Okay, so let's break down all the factors. You would have something like, let's see, 12 can be 6 and 2, 3 and 4, but none of those have in common, but you could try 4 and 3. 31 is a prime number, so it's just 1 and 31. And then 20 could be 4 and 5. And then the x. So I recognize they all have an x in common. And then I'm left with 12x squared minus 31x plus 20. Let's see if this problem is factorable. Big number. Let me double check really quick. Alright, so this is a super large one. We didn't practice. I'll probably give an extra credit for being able to do this. So if you get to this part, I'd probably just give you 4. But let's see if you wanted 1 extra credit point. A, B, and C. A times C is 240. My B value is negative 31. So I'm going to list out all my factors. 240 times 1. 2 is 120. 3 goes in there 80 times. How about 4? 4 goes in there 60 times. How about 5? 5 is going to go there 40. That's 20, 40, 0. And then 5 goes in there 88 times. So extra 4 works. How about 6? 6 would be 40. 7 won't work. How about 8? It would work. That would be 30. 9, 10. 10 times 24. About 12. That would give me 20. What else? About 13. 13, 14, 15 will probably work. Let's try 15, and then that'd be 9, 0, and then we go in 6 times. 0, extra 3, no. 15 goes in there once. 225 plus 15, yeah. Okay. So listed out all the factors there. Sorry, you couldn't see that. All right, so then I list them out, least to greatest. So if I add those two together, I get 16 and 15. So if I do negative 16 and negative 15, this would give me positive 240, and those will add to be negative 31. So remember these two values right there. These will always go there. So my first term will be 12x squared, and this will be a 20, and this will be negative 16x and negative 15x. And then I'm just going to go out here and factor. So the greatest common factor would probably be a 3 here. And this greatest common factor would be a 4x, because 3x times 4x gives me 12x squared. Then I'm missing a 5 here. 3x times negative 5 is negative 15x. And then this would probably have to be a negative 4, because negative 4 times 4x gives me negative 16x, and then negative 4 times negative 5 would give me a positive 20. So my answer would be, don't forget the greatest common factor, 3x minus 4, and then 4x minus 5. I'll probably give a +1 extra credit for that problem. That was pretty hard. So then, let's count up our points for this page. You should double count these for my TAs and I. So 4 points here plus the extra credit, but don't worry about the extra credit. 3 points there, so that's 7 plus 4 is 11. 15, and then this one's 19. So this is out of 19, and there's 2 extra credit points here and there, so you don't add it to the total. So 14 plus 19 gives us 33. So you'll have a total right there as a pre-score, and then let's just say you didn't box your answer, we'll circle that and subtract 1. It's messy. Generally, if you write in pen or you scribble out stuff, and the reason why I use pen and don't erase is so you can see it better. And then you'll get a final score circled, and that'll be out of 33. Keep your test as evidence. Have a good day.
Math.
Say it again.
Our math.